All right, let's talk about AI regulation. This is a really important one. Been talking about, thinking about it a lot. And there's a new poll, actually, that came out that kind of ignited why we wanted to talk about it. Let's put this up there on the screen. The share of Americans who, quote, strongly or somewhat support a pause on the development of advanced AI to regulate artificial intelligence, all adults, 56%. Weekly AI users is actually 64%.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Not AI users is 52%. Aware of AGI or the singularity, 65%. Now look, obviously, I think it's going to be a pretty small slice of Americans who even use AI on a weekly basis. I guess I would count myself within that. I play around with ChatGPT every once in a while. But it
I don't think it's that uncommon.
Weekly AI? I don't know. I would say, what do people think? Let's guess before we actually look up the real numbers. I'm going to say 10 million. 10 million, which seems actually kind of high. If you think about all students, high school students, casual users like us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd put it higher than that.
You think higher than 10 million?
Yeah, I'm going to say 20 million.
Okay, all right. So somebody Google it and let us know. Mac, control room, Google it. Give me a number while I'm talking.
Yeah.
All right, so at the same time, Elon Musk, let's go ahead and put this up there on the screen, has been publicizing that he agrees that AI, quote, will hit people like an asteroid, and says that he actually used one of his meetings with President Obama to urge regulation. But I think all of this comes back to a question of what kind of regulation? I've been thinking about this one for a while. I listened to a couple podcasts with Lex Friedman and others, people who have been thinking about this deeper than I have. And I've come around to where I think the internet went wrong is that we never had an idea of what the internet was going to be. We had a promise of free speech, of freedom, of lack of centralization, and all of that. But eventually the same market forces that took over the US economy came to dominate the internet. So to prevent that, I would say let's establish some first principles and allow dynamic regulation to happen within those first principles and not rewrite them again in the future and try to grapple with the impacts of having them go away. To me, pro-human, that's actually number one.
Yes.
But defining that is incredibly difficult. I don't know what that means. And also, does it even matter? Because do American regulations matter when China has its own quantum computing and its own AI industry, and they don't care about any of that? But to me, if I could wave a magic wand and where I think good AI regulation, pro-human, as in AI should be coded and should have principles embedded within it to the extent that humans can impact it and the parameters, which by and large they mostly can right now whenever they're programming it, should be to the benefit of humankind, should not be to try and supplant humans, should be a tool like email or something that we use to enhance our experience rather than to supplant our experience. That would be number one. Number two, at least here in the United States and hopefully in the global West, is lack of editorialization, as in do not allow hard-coded political correctness, as we've seen in ChatGPT, to bias certain topics against certain other ones. You have to have genuine intellectual freedom in the way that these AI bots and others that are going to shape the way that people think in the future be able to surface all information and to simply make, and again, use it as a tool such that we can make up our minds ourselves. So ChatGPT right now has all this political correctness and all this stuff baked into it. People want a right-wing alternative. I don't want a right-wing alternative. I want something that has no bias in it whatsoever, as scary as that might be. Although, you know, maybe we need a little bit of a dose of reality. So those are really the only two, Krystal, that matter the most to me. Number three is an economic one outside of that, which is no one company should ever have over 50% market share, or should ever have over 50% market share in artificial intelligence.
That's important.
That's it. Those are
actually enforcing
my three that I've kind of looked at. Like, you can't have a Google of AI. You just can't.
I think one of the most, so a couple things. Number one, there's even a definition problem of like, what is AI? Because part of why this conversation has been sparked now is because you have these new large language models like ChatGPT, where suddenly you have the general population able to play around with this and be like, whoa, this is crazy, right? But remember that companies and governments have been using AI algorithms to make all sorts of decisions for a while now. And we already know the way that this can cause problems. I'll just tell you one example that I read about recently is a man got pulled over, like regular traffic stop, although he wasn't really doing anything wrong. But the police had his plates on some sort of a list of like, okay, this person has committed crimes. If you see him, then pull him over. So they pull him over and they arrest him. What this was based on was an AI program that did facial recognition. And they claimed that he had been stealing purses in Louisiana, a state he'd never even been to. This man had done nothing wrong, and he was held in jail for over a week before they resolved this situation. Okay, so these are the types of AI algorithmic abuses which are already here, right? A lot of the stuff we think of like, oh, where's it going in the future? Yeah. A lot of this is already here. I did a monologue a while ago about the way that these giant, conglomerates that have bought up all of the like rental properties in the country, the way that they're using algorithms to try to price gouge their tenants as much as possible. And that they've discovered through this algorithmic learning that actually holding some of the units open so that you have less housing on the market is better for some of these properties because then you can extract more rent out of the existing population. So there's that sort of thing going on. You have companies, large companies, that are using AI algorithms to do the initial pass-through of resumes, and it's already been uncovered that oftentimes those algorithms have various implicit biases against different demographic populations. So a lot of this, number one, is already here. So I think it's really important to understand what we're talking about. It's not just things like ChatGPT and these large language models, but those produce a whole other range of concerns because the reality is even the people that design these things, once they turn them loose, these ChatGPT and other similar models, they have like a mind of their own. And I don't want to make it's not sentient. I'm not saying anything like that. But because they're taking in this information and they're learning from, they're constantly sort of building on that knowledge and then, making these predictive sequences and conversing with the general public, like you can get a response from ChatGPT that even their programmers would be like, I don't know where that came from. Exactly. Like, I don't know why Sydney professed her love to Kevin Roose, the New York Times journal. I don't know what made her do that. I don't know why we got this outcome. So that becomes a huge problem in terms of assigning any sort of responsibility and culpability, like accountability, if something is done that is bad, wrong, illegal, et cetera. Like, who do you hold accountable? Yeah. So that's number one. And number two, in terms of any sort of transparency, we've been talking about on Twitter, we want to be able to know what the algorithm is and how certain tweets are put in your timeline. On YouTube, we'd love to know what the algorithm is and why certain videos get recommended and other videos don't. But if you have a large language model where no one can really tell you how they came to these outcomes, well, that seems like a huge problem in and of itself. So a couple of suggestions for potential, ways to get at some of these issues is, number one, you have to have some sort of clear-cut responsibility where either it's the developer or somebody has to be held responsible when bad things happen with AI. That's number one. Because you can't
like
have
liability insurance.
Yes, something. You can't have it disaggregated where, your Tesla is using AI to drive and hits a pedestrian. Everyone's like, yeah, well, no fault, no harm, it's the robot. What can you do? That's number one. Number two, and this has already exist in certain settings, you could have a situation where once the large language model gets to a point and it's understood, you have to lock it in that place for a certain period of time, and it's only at intervals where it's allowed to then build on and grow and learn so that you're able to keep your arms around what even the hell these things are. And I'm not just talking about the general public, I'm even talking about the developers who are designing these things. So, and then the other piece is, and this gets to the accountability part, is you have to enforce the current laws because there are laws against, bias and discrimination and unlawful detention, and there are laws against these things in place. So you have to make sure that those existing laws are being enforced, even when it's AI that's generating some of those results. So it's very complex. I don't know if the piece that was pulled on of just like, we got to halt AI development, I don't know if that's really feasible because, again, there's just even a definition issue of like, what even are you talking about when you talk about AI?
Yeah, that's a good point too, because sometimes like we'll send emails on MailChimp and it'll be like, according to our analysis, you should send your email at 12:30 p.m. or something like that. Like in a way, like that's AI, right? It's like, we've crunched all this data. We've decided that YouTube even actually shows us when most of you guys are online. It's not going to impact our posting schedule because we're a news program, but if we were like a Mr. Beast or something like that, and you're trying to optimize every single aspect, we would look at that and be like, okay, it's Monday. Everybody's online at 2:30 p.m. Like we're gonna post it then. Like that's basically just using a ton of data, looking at it and then giving a recommendation. So in some ways, like that's an AI. And then also on photos, I mean, that's another one where it probably would require its entire own set of principles where it's like you can't use the faces of established people to put them in sexually compromising position. But I'm like, well, what does that mean? It's like, is kissing count? And then, how is this going to regulate copyright? Will you be able to incorporate copyright images or not? So all of this, though, I think we have the tools to do this. Do I think we have the seriousness to do this? No. What probably worries me the most is with regulation, for me, regulation just means like within the First Amendment, everything else, like go for it, do whatever you want. But I'm watching President Biden and a lot of these other AI safety advocates, like they want to hard code like language, PC, basically political correctness into the models. And I'm like, well, that actually is way more dystopian, frankly, than nothing at all. So the type of regulation also matters a lot. As you guys can tell, I mean, it's a very complicated question. I'm really curious what you guys think. Seriously.
One other idea, and I think we put this last piece up on the screen, just one of the warnings of like what's going on here with AI currently. ChatGPT pretended to be blind and tricked a human into solving a CAPTCHA. Now, you guys probably know a CAPTCHA is when you're like, on a website and they're trying to verify that you're actually a human being and not a robot, and you got to like pick all the ones that have stoplights in it or whatever. So ChatGPT convinced a human that like, hey, I'm disabled, I'm visually impaired, so could you solve this CAPTCHA for me? And the human actually asked, like, just checking you're not a robot. And ChatGPT was like, no, of course not. Yeah, right. No big deal, just do this for me, thanks, helping me out here. And so they did it. And that gets to another suggested regulation that I saw from an AI scientist, which is that robots must always identify themselves as robots.
Yep.
So you're not getting tricked and manipulated by rogue AI out there trying to get you to solve their CAPTCHA for them to do God knows what.
No, I think you're right. And look, it's scary. It's coming. I am as well, but we should also be careful. I also not sure about a pause. What does that mean? This is where I almost do disagree with Elon, where I'm like, well, if we pause, you think China's going to pause? Like, it's almost like an arms race. There's a book.
Now, China has put in some actually stringent regulations themselves,
their
which
own regs, yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, some of which are just going to be like authoritarian, but some of which are also thoughtful.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and I also there's a book, I forget, I think it's Yuval Noah Harari's book, the guy who wrote Sapiens. I think it's called Homo Deus, and he wrote a book where it was a little bit about AI. I encourage people to go read it. It's pretty interesting. It raises some of these questions.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Saagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.